Welcome back into episode 3, part 2 of the Pilgrimage Perspective. In the second part, we'll continue to talk all about high school pilgrimages. The leaders go into depth about why our leaders at Franciscan pilgrimage programs work so well together. It's almost like they're brother and sister, or they've been a family for a long time. They'll talk about that specialness, where they would go in Assisi if they could go right now. And do they prefer the busyness of Rome first, or do they prefer that at the end of the pilgrimage? All of this and much more in the second half of episode 3 of the Pilgrimage Perspective. It starts right now.
I think that's amazing that you said that, Mike, because when I got to show the video to Thomas More High School in Milwaukee, the video that I put together for their trip, first of all, they wanted me to say hi to Alvin, Jen, and Mike, because they had such a powerful experience with you guys that you were on their same level. You weren't talking down to them. You were getting interactive with them. And I don't think that happens a lot necessarily, or at least teenagers don't see that happen a lot in their lives. So I think that is a special thing about your group and our group specifically, is that it's not this, it's this. Everyone is welcome. You have the same experience. You can share with them experiences from your own lives, because I sat in each one of your groups and you shared experiences from your own lives, whether when you were younger or current day. And I think you made them, like Mike said, you made them feel welcome. And I think that's a very special, unique thing that we bring to the table. And it's an awesome thing.
One of the best compliments I ever got, and was I asked we had small groups, and I was just asking them on the group. He said, so what do you think so far has been the best? And they all kind of looked at each other, kind of nervous like, and I said, you can tell me, it's okay. You can be completely honest. And they're like, well, it's really weird. We were talking about this with our group. He said, and Father Chris, you mentioned this about leaders doing everything, on those retreats. And that's the way they're set up. And there's nothing wrong with that. But they said, it's kind of like, we know you're the leader, but we feel as though like we're doing it too. And like, it's like, we're working with you and we're having this, but we're not planning it. And it's really great. We don't know how to describe it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got goosebumps again, Andy. Just hearing them say that, it's like, I think that's what we want to do. We want them we encourage them to embrace this trip. And it's your trip. It's not our trip that we're putting on you. That this is your trip. And that was the best compliment I think we ever could have gotten when we actually have kids actually say that. It feels like our trip and we're actually doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because that's Assisi too, though. We get there and we're confident that, something's going to happen. So it's easier to just stay back a little bit and let go and not just like be on top of everyone and say like, oh, because we owe this to them and everything. But we've seen it often enough, or every time, that we could really say, okay, even if we step back a bit or as much as we could, something's going to happen, and we just have that faith. So I guess we go back again to the power of Assisi, the spirituality of place. So it makes,
You all have different experiences with pilgrimage. You've all been on different ones, high school and others. Alex, you have unique experience because you've done high school as well as you do the college pilgrimages. What's the difference between high school and the jump up to college?
Oh, sometimes not much. But
depends on what door you're going in, right, Alex?
Right, exactly. I mean, I think obviously when, the high school pilgrimages, there's obviously, a level that is not quite as mature as
Sure.
at the college level.
Mm-hmm.
I think the high school pilgrimages, the students are looking more for a way of being accepted for who they are. They know who they are, and sometimes they're really afraid to share who they are, as many of us are. Whereas I say with the college pilgrimages, perhaps they're now starting to reconcile, and embrace who they are on a deeper level, and now they're starting to move towards purpose and meaning in life. That starts to get unpacked on a deeper level than maybe they did in high school, plus a lot more. But sometimes there's a very fine line between the two, which is not bad. It's great.
No.
I'd like to think, I'm not always acting maturely, as something aged woman, you know, then I can revert back to being in college too, you
Mhm.
know?
I think that speaks to how good all of you are at what you do. I don't think you're told that enough. Um, because again, in the experiences I've had with all of you, you are the best at what you do. So I want you to know that you are the best at what you do. And it's an amazing thing to watch you do in your craft. It's an awesome thing. And the kids might not tell you that because, you know, sometimes they're intimidated, but they've told me, I don't know, maybe I was younger, but I've seen them since pilgrimage. And again, that group has said repeatedly that you all have done wonderful things. And reading all of the feedback, because I always get the feedback from the brochures that they fill out, or the evaluation forms, and all of you glowing reviews top to bottom. It's an awesome thing to be able to read. Since
Can
it
I,
is,
can I just add
yeah.
to that, Andy, if you
Mhm,
don't
mhm.
mind? I
Of
think one
course.
of the wonderful things about the leaders that we have on pilgrimage is that we genuinely like one another. We enjoy one another's company. I mean, I haven't had the opportunity to work with everybody in this Zoom room, but
Mhm.
I mean, those that I have worked with, we are like, in many ways, like brother and sister, you know. And that's also, you know, sometimes it's harder too. There are hard points in those relationships, but I also see those relationships as growing and evolving and developing, and reflecting back to the students. Like, we as leaders, we have our differences, but we share so much joy in what we're doing with you. That comes out. And I've had students comment to us like, oh, you and brother Mike, like you guys act really, really goofy together. Mike, yeah, we do. We kind of do enjoy one another's company on occasion. but they see us in the piazza, sort of in those times where we're out and we have free time, and we hang out together, you know. So that's, I think that models for them what it means to follow in the footsteps of Claire and Francis. You know, we genuinely enjoy one another's company, and
Mhm.
that's reflected in how well the program goes.
And you know, I think it's so awesome is that I've been on these tours. You know, they take you from place to place, and they gotta make sure they take you to certain places because they get a cut of the revenue from the other places, and they're there to make money. You know, a lot of these tour groups are there to you know, the people leading them are there to get a cut and to, you know, there to make money. And you know, I think that everyone who's a part of Franciscan pilgrimages, they're doing it for a higher purpose. You know, they do it because not they have to make money. We're doing this because we love doing it, and I think that shows in the relationships. They want to be there, they want to be there, and it's not something that we're being forced to be on these experiences. We get to be there. This is a joy, and we will put off commitments. We'll rearrange our schedule so that we can be a part of this.
I think that's one of the funniest things when I'm in our normal November meeting outside of the whatever year this is, 2020. But it's amazing to watch all of you run to one another saying, okay, I have this pilgrimage open. Do you have this? Do you have these dates open? I think we should do it together. Or, you know, with Alvin, unfortunately, you know, you're overseas, so you can't always be there. But seeing Mike and Jen run over to Mike's computer, type out an email saying, Mike, are you available this day? I think we should do it. I think it'd be awesome. That is hilarious to watch, one, but it speaks to your relationship with each other. And that's a very special thing. And since it is, like I said, the year of 2020, has anyone been to Assisi this year?
Not me, and I'm in Rome. So
I was going to say that. So that speaks, that's volumes that this year has just been a crazy year of.
we could though, but I haven't been, unfortunately.
Right. So even Alvin, who, you know, is only a couple hours away from there, has not been there. When you get to go back, hopefully it's 2021, what is one thing you are definitely going to be putting on your schedule that you will do when you get back?
What is it going to be on the schedule?
Yeah, I would do.
Personally, is there
I mean,
one
I
thing
think
you
I think
okay, I need to do this?
saying hello to all of our friends there, you know, Rita, Gus, the people at De Priori, the people in the cafes, that, you know, the waiters and waitresses, and Massimo, the taxi driver. Just, I I miss Assisi. I miss the familiarity, when we arrive and people walk out of their shops and they greet us because they know us by name and we know them by name, and they ask how your family is doing. I mean, they've embraced us as part of their family. And I think I really miss that connection.
Yeah, definitely one of the first things I would like to do is going down to Gus's shop. I don't know why. I love his little ham sandwiches he makes up in the bag lunch, but I can't wait to be eating one of those little ham sandwiches down in the Valley of Assisi there at San Rufino d'Arce, and looking up at Assisi and just being able to smell that fresh air and sitting in the grass and just discussing with people.
The paprika pink Pringles, Sam, right?
Well, that's without a doubt. Yeah, I'll have to stock the bag with paprika Pringles.
I'm gonna hop on that, Sam. Just going down to that field, just going down that field and having lunch and sitting there and just letting the winds blow through the grass and just being silent and just looking at the city. That's, it's interesting because, one of the things in my research that was like most of my research, asking participants what was their experience to take away, and everyone goes back to that. The large amount of students who are interviewed all said that's the moment. And it's interesting because it's the same moment that I love the most. It's just that field where, we're just soaking it in, and it's just being there and not having to worry about where we're going next or what we're going to have to eat, just being present to one another and to the place.
You reminded me of my first pilgrimage when I got a phone call from the director of the program, and an email, actually it was an email, I think about it now, and said, hey, your name came up about somebody who would be good to do high school pilgrimages. And I'm like, what? What is this all about? Where did this come from? And who's recommending me? Who's talking about it? What was a prior friend, turned out. So I went on a pilgrimage, and I said, well, hey, I'll be honest right here. I think you all know this story. It's a free trip to Assisi. I'll go. I don't know if I'm going to be interested in this, and I probably never go again. But what the heck? I did not know Father Russ. I didn't know Sister Annie at all. Never met them before until we got to the airport, and I met Annie at the airport, and it was like instantaneous friendship. I don't want to belittle friendship. It takes time, but it was just automatic connection. Being a Franciscan sister, me being a Franciscan brother, and then meeting Father Russ, who was a conventual, not even OFM like us, but this immediate familiarity that, again, I get back to safety and trust, that God brought us here for a reason and to do this. And when you go with Father Russ Govenal, and if you take the bus up to Assisi, you take the bike up to Assisi, and he says, welcome home to every time. Welcome home, no matter where you are as a Franciscan, whether you're a lay person, whether you're a secular Franciscan, whether you're a brother, a priest, whatever you are, this is your home. And so when you ask me to come back, I always, when I go to Assisi now, it's like, it's my home. This is where I belong, so to speak. So it's just, for me, I would just walking up and down any part of Assisi because I feel that this is where I belong.
You're right, Mike. It's an amazing thing. I had a similar experience. John asked me to go to record the high school pilgrimage, and Mike, I'd met you 2 or 3 times. Jen, I'd met twice. Alvin, I'd never had the privilege of meeting you. But I remember being very nervous getting off the plane because I'm not overly familiar with the airport. I've been there once, but I saw Jen waving me over, and it was the leaders all in one group, and having Jen pick on Mike, which it's all in good fun, but it's a fun thing to watch. And then Alvin and, getting included with that, and then myself, and you guys included me, and it was an amazing thing. And it was like being home. Anxiety for me couldn't get me in Assisi because it is such a peaceful, amazing place that the only time I ever wanted to be on my phone is to call my wife and make sure everything was okay at home. But otherwise, I just would have left my phone in the room because I wanted to be, and Father Christopher said, you want to be present because you know that your time there is not long. It's only a matter of days. And it's an amazing thing to be able to experience. And I think one of the things that was interesting to me was seeing, and I've been to pilgrimage, our regular Assisi 1 through 4, and we were in Rome first, and that's a very busy place, as most people know. And there's just so many people. You're always waiting in line. I went in July, so it's 105. And when you start in Assisi, me, personal preference, it's just amazing to be able to have that sense of calming first. So I guess I asked the group, would you rather start in Assisi or do you prefer to actually start in Rome? Smile means there's a good story behind it.
Let me go first. Sorry.
Oh, that's right, because you live there.
I want to go first because I don't think there's really a good answer, though, like a real answer.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, I know. So yeah, I do live here. Thanks for reminding me.
Sure, no problem.
Like I'm out of the Roman atmosphere, but yeah, my experience with bringing people here is that I'm used to this, but it's a big city. So you bring a group, and like for me personally, I'm more slightly more concerned that it's less safe than they were in Assisi. So that's my experience with bringing groups here. So I'm more attentive, looking at the groups. If somebody goes close to them who we don't know and all that. But beside all that, though, I think one or the other, Assisi or beginning in Assisi or Rome. I'm not quite sure if there's a better combination on my point of view, because you go there, there's the advantage of it's your first impression of Italy, and you establish yourself there for about a week, and then you're in Rome, and then you go out. Then if you come to Rome, which is also a very important part of the pilgrimage, then that part is also over by the time you get to Assisi, and you bring Assisi with you as you go out. So I'm not quite sure how to answer that.
My personal opinion, I've only done it once, but I love doing Rome first, only because I feel like if you go to Assisi first, you go there, you fall in love with Assisi, because who doesn't fall in love with Assisi? And then you head to Rome, and for a lot of people, it's what the heck is going on? It's just an overload almost, because they've been in this quiet place for a week now, and then they go back to Rome, which would be the equivalent of going up to New York City, and there's just stuff flying everywhere, and everyone's overwhelmed. Whereas, and the other thing is too, I've seen with a lot of the younger people going on trips, they kind of have some thoughts going on about Rome. That's where the Colosseum is. That's where the Vatican is. They kind of have an idea, and they're kind of excited to get there. So they have it in the back of their minds that it's easy. Whereas if you start in Rome, they see all that stuff. They kind of get tuckered out within a couple days, and you take that long bus ride. Usually they take a nice little nap on that, and then you get to Assisi, and everyone's situated. Oh my gosh, this doesn't feel like Italy at all. It's not anything like Rome. And then they kind of nestle into their new home, like Brother Mike was saying. And I don't know. I like that you get all the hustle bustle out of the way before going to Assisi, before instead of ending it on that high kind of strenuous note.
True.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't think sorry for this. It's not like either or better than. I think a lot of it depends. I think either way, I've done them both ways. People have an experience, and you go with the flow. One of the things we know as pilgrimage leaders is that probably what you planned isn't necessarily what's going to happen. Okay. And so you always have to have plan B, C, sometimes D, E, and F in line. So whether you start, like the one year, like I said, the one young man didn't come because of his passport. I mean, that wasn't in our plan, but we had to adjust to what we needed to do at that time. So I think what happens is whether you're starting Rome or you're starting Assisi, you can still have a great experience. So there's one better or the other. I have a preference to one. One of the things that we do, if you do Rome after Assisi, it kind of, what we do is say, okay, this is going to prepare you now. You have this piece of Assisi, this sense of quiet and stuff. Now when we go to Rome, it's almost like kind of what it's going to be like when you get back home. So, and so it's kind of like a a warm-up period to kind of prepare them so we can process them through, see what the difference is, see how hard it is to be a pilgrim right now, and kind of go in tourist mode. So it kind of warms them up when they get home. If we start in Rome and then end in Assisi, it's kind of like they take that piece and then all of a sudden they're back home in wherever city they live in, and it's boom, and they don't have that transition period. I don't think one's either bad or good. There's different dynamics that I think we have to adjust to, and make the point. Okay, now how we adjust? How are you going to adjust to this new way of life now that you've been transformed through pilgrimage?
I agree with your brother Mike, because I think it just has a different dynamic. Will you begin or end in Rome? It's not a better or worse. There's always a constant. People always have their preference of where things are, but I think it's the nature of pilgrimages to be flexible, because something may be happening here, or someone's luggage, something happens to their luggage, you have to adjust, and your itinerary has to be flexible enough that you can handle whatever comes your way. But that's the best thing that's a great lesson from pilgrimages, is we come with our expectations, but then the journey is sometimes far different than what we expect, and sometimes there's a beauty in that.
I'm going to throw Alex under the bus here on the spot. Alex, I mean, I think of the group, I'm looking at the grid here. I think of the group, you probably have more experience of doing them both ways than any of us. Because the college kids, if I remember correctly, always start in Rome, correct?
Yeah, we do. We start in Rome, and then when I've done adult pilgrimages, we've done both and. So, I mean, again, I kind of echoing everything that all of you guys have said. I don't know if I prefer one over the other. I see the merits of both approaches, but I think the important thing, and I think everybody has said this in one way or another, is so when we get to those last few days, whether those last few days are in Assisi or we're spending our last days in Rome, what's next? Because whether we're in Rome or whether we're in Assisi, all of our pilgrims are afraid. Maybe afraid isn't the right word. They're hesitant to go home because they're worried that what I feel right now, what I'm spiritually experiencing right now, whether I'm in Rome or whether I'm in Assisi, how do I bring that home back to Milwaukee, back to La Cañada, back to Brooklyn, or, wherever they are? How do I continue to bring Clare and Francis and Assisi and Rome to my daily life? And I think that's one of the beauties of this pilgrimage program, is we offer everyone the opportunity to open themselves up to being in that mindset that you can bring Assisi and Rome and the pilgrim and Francis and Clare back home to wherever you are and share that. It's an evangelization. We evangelize to them, and then we send them out, just like the disciples were sent out, and we go out and we hope that we've done what is ours to do. Now it is yours.
And
There's that phrase, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. We play on that and say, what happens in Assisi must not stay in Assisi. What happens here needs to go out. You need to tell everybody what you did. It's not one of these retreats. There's so many, another thing these kids are used to, they're on retreats, they're secret. And so you're not allowed to tell what you did on a retreat, because they're pretty much all cookie cutter. And they get into this secrecy mode, like, oh no, you really have to experience to go. We tell people, you tell everybody, tell them everything you did, make a journal. Tell them what a great time you had. So what happens in Assisi doesn't stay in Assisi. If it does, then we've failed. Pretty much.
And that's something, if there's any leaders watching this, one of the things that I would encourage, people who are working in schools or bring youth groups to come on this is, follow up. Don't let, just like any good pilgrimage, whether it's the Camino or World Youth Day, don't let that spirit die when you go home. Keep together as a community, gather, share memories, reconnect with one another regularly. Do stuff together, because that's really important. Because this is only, you can give people all the tools in the world, but it's up to them to use them when they get home. I mean, you can have all these great experiences, but if you leave them just in Assisi, it's just another trip. But if it's something that you carry with you in your heart, in your relationships, in the way you act, then what Francis and Clare really did is having the real impact that was intended. and is leading us to treat each other better and to grow in our relationships with God, because that's what we're doing it for.
That seems like the perfect place to end. I want to thank all of you for your time today. Amazing answers. It gave me a little bit of pilgrimage that I think I need in my life. And I'm hoping that this experience gives a little bit of pilgrimage to all the people that watch this. So I thank all of you for your time. It's been amazing to spend time with you. I think it goes without saying, I miss all of you. And I'm disappointed that I will not be seeing all of you and being in the presence of all of you this year. But I look forward to the next time we do get to do that. So I will say that this has been episode 3 of the Pilgrimage Perspective.
Thank you, Andy.
Awesome.
Thank you, Andy.
Andy,
Thank you,
it was
guys.
great.
It was great.
Thank you, guys.
That's not-